To Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala belong the most beautiful, the most perfect of names. So call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with those names. And subhanAllah, if you look at all of the names of Allah, offers us a different dimension, a different way that we can connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But He's given us enough of His names subhanahu wa ta'ala that we can call upon Him properly. And the ulama mentioned so many beautiful benefits of this when we're talking about how to get our du'as accepted. But when the Prophet ﷺ tells us that all the rahmah in this world comes from just one of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's 99 mercies, and so when we call upon Him with Ar-Rahman, we go to Him as deeply wounded people. But we know that Ar-Rahman can fix us, can put us together. And so we call upon Him, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. And we can only grasp so much of it, but it's enough to personalize your du'as with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And of course, when you call upon Allah, when you cannot think of all of the names, you say Allah, Allah. And what does that do to you when you just call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or you call upon Ar-Rahman. Now, how do you go beyond that? You have different ahadith, some where the Prophet ﷺ mentions the greatest name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And does anyone know what the greatest name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is? Many of the scholars mention a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he said that it is in Al-Baqarah and Surah Taha. And so it's Al-Hayy Al-Qayyum. Allahu la ilaha illahu Al-Hayy Al-Qayyum. The ever-living, the ever-sustaining. And of the benefits of that, the scholars mention, is that Al-Hayy speaks to all the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and attributes that emanate of His very being, of His very presence. Al-Qayyum, sustaining, refer to all of the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that refer to fi'liya, His doing subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet ﷺ says Allah has 99 names. Man ahsaha dakhal al-jannah. Whoever establishes those names enters into paradise. Three things. You memorize the name, you make dua with the name, and you act with the name. These are the three rights and the three ways in which we honor a name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when we come across it. And if you bring them into your dua, they are so enriching. And then you can establish a dua that stems from the name. Ya Rahman arhamni, Ya Ghafur ighfirli, Allahumma innaka afuwan tuhibbul afwa fa'afu anni. So you can establish, O most merciful, have mercy on me. O most forgiving, forgive me. O you who pardons, you love to pardon, so pardon me. Ya Razzaq, O you who sustains, grant me rizq. You call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the names that simply extol Him, because remember, dua is also thana, it's just praise. Ya Majid, spend some time with that, glorifying Him. You're seeking guidance, Ya Hadi, O Allah, guide me. Once you start to bring them into your dua, and your dua becomes so rich, subhanAllah, your relationship to Allah becomes so much more personal. You call upon Allah with His asma, with His names, and with His attributes. And the attributes, as the scholars mention, is a way in which you can further personalize. How? Allah is as-Sami'. He's the all-hearing. When Zakaria alayhi salam says, Innaka sami'ud du'a, you are the one who hears all my du'as. Ya man taghfiru dhunub wa la tubali. Oh, you who forgive sins and you don't mind. That comes from Al-Ghafur. So every name of Allah has attributes embedded within it that you can then extol. بِعِلْمِكَ الْغَيْبِ وَقُدْرَتِكَ عَلَى الْخَلْقِ. Oh Allah, by your knowledge of the unseen and your power over all beings. So you say, Oh Allah Al-Alim, Oh Allah all-knowing. And then start to praise His knowledge subhanahu wa ta'ala and the attributes of that knowledge. That which is specific to you. تَعْلَمُ مَا فِي نَفْسِي. You know what's inside of me, Oh Allah. So call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with His names, and then look to His attributes and spend some time with those attributes. And look how much richer your dua will be